Jake Morrison looked out the window of his ship as they approached Nexus Station. The massive space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal city. Lights blinked along its surface, and hundreds of alien ships floated around it like insects around a lamp. He had never seen so many different types of spacecraft in one place. Captain Lisa Harper stood beside him, her hand resting on her weapon. She was nervous, and Jake could tell. Her jaw was tight, and she kept checking her watch. The military escort team behind them was just as tense. They all knew this meeting could change everything for humanity. "Ambassador Morrison, we're getting close," the pilot called from the front of the ship. "The aliens are giving us docking instructions now." Jake nodded and straightened his uniform. He was Earth's top diplomat, but even he felt small looking at the enormous station ahead. Nexus Station was supposed to be neutral territory, but today, it felt more like enemy ground. The docking process took 20 minutes. Jake watched through the porthole as mechanical arms grabbed their ship and pulled it into a docking bay. The bay was huge, big enough to hold 50 ships like theirs. But what caught his attention were the other vessels already there. Each one was different from the others, representing the many alien races that made up the Galactic Council. "Remember, sir," Captain Harper said quietly as they prepared to leave the ship, "we don't know what kind of welcome we're going to get. Stay close to us at all times." Jake picked up his briefcase and followed the security team out of the ship. The docking bay was filled with strange sounds and smells. The air was thick and humid, nothing like the clean air on their ship. Alien workers moved around the bay, some floating, others walking on multiple legs. Most of them stopped what they were doing to stare at the humans. A tall, thin alien approached them. Its skin was blue and smooth, and it had 4 arms instead of 2. When it spoke, its voice came from a small device on its chest rather than its mouth. "I am Guide Zell. I will take you to the council chamber. Follow me and do not speak to anyone along the way." The group followed Guide Zell through long corridors filled with more aliens than Jake had ever seen. Some were twice as tall as humans, others were barely knee-high. There were creatures made of what looked like living crystal, others that seemed to be made of gas held together by metal suits. The variety was amazing, but also frightening. So many of them. One of the security guards whispered. "Stay focused," Captain Harper replied under her breath. The corridors seemed to go on forever. Jake noticed that many of the aliens they passed were staring at them with what looked like anger or disgust. Some made sounds that their translation devices couldn't understand, but the tone was clear enough. The humans were not welcome here. Finally, they reached a massive door that was at least 30 feet tall. Guide Zell pressed something on the wall, and the door began to open slowly. Beyond it was the largest room Jake had ever seen. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it, and the walls curved away in all directions. "The Galactic Council Chamber," Guide Zell announced. "The representatives are waiting for you." Jake stepped into the chamber and felt his breath catch in his throat. Hundreds of aliens filled the room, sitting in rows that rose up like a giant stadium. At the center of the room was a small platform with a single chair. That was where he would have to sit, surrounded by aliens on all sides. The noise in the chamber was incredible. Dozens of different languages mixed together, creating a sound like nothing Jake had ever heard. But as soon as the aliens noticed the humans entering, the noise began to fade. Within seconds, the entire chamber was silent. Jake walked down the long path to the center platform, his footsteps echoing in the quiet. Captain Harper and the security team followed him, but they had to stop at the edge of the platform. Jake would face the council alone. He sat down in the chair and looked around, at the alien faces staring down at him. Some looked curious, others looked angry, and a few looked like they wanted to eat him. Jake had faced tough negotiations before, but nothing like this. A creature made of living crystal stood up in the front row. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "I am Chancellor Krex of the Zephyrian Collective. Human, Morrison, you stand before this council to answer for your species' crimes against galactic law." Jake kept his face calm, but inside he was surprised. "Crimes? What crimes?" Earth had been careful to follow all the rules they knew about. Another alien stood up. This one looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and compound eyes. The Hive Collective agrees with Chancellor Krex. Humans have violated territorial agreements and expanded into forbidden space. A third alien rose. This one was huge and covered in scales like a dragon. Its voice was so deep it made Jake's chest vibrate. The Corvin Federation has monitored human expansion for months. You have built colonies and systems that belong to other species. Jake listened as more aliens stood up to list complaints against humanity. They talked about human ships being seen in restricted areas, human colonies being built without permission, and human traders ignoring galactic trade laws. With each accusation, the mood in the chamber grew more hostile. Finally, Chancellor Krex spoke again. Human Morrison, your species has been in space for only 200 years. You are children compared to civilizations that have existed for thousands of years. Yet you act as if you own the galaxy. The crystal being paused, letting the words sink in. It is time for humanity to learn its place in the galactic order. You will listen to our terms, and you will accept them. There is no other choice. Jake sat quietly in his chair, his face showing no emotion. But inside, his mind was racing. The aliens thought they had all the power here. They thought humans were weak and would give in to threats. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The war leader of the Corvin Federation stood up slowly. He was the largest alien in the chamber, standing nearly 12 feet tall. His scaled body was covered in battle scars, and his red eyes glowed in the dim light. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like thunder. Human Morrison, you sit there so quietly. Do you think silence will save your species? The war leader's massive claws clicked against the metal railing in front of him. Your people have made a grave mistake. You have angered forces beyond your understanding. Jake remained seated, his hands folded in his lap. He watched as the war leader began to pace back and forth, his heavy footsteps echoing through the chamber. For the first time in galactic history, natural enemies have joined together, the war leader continued. The Zephyrian Collective and the Hive have been at war for 3,000 years. The Vorthan Empire has fought the Corvin Federation for even longer. But your species has done something no other threat could do. You have united us, Chancellor. Krex's crystal body flashed different colors as he spoke. The human expansion must stop. Your species acts without respect for established borders or ancient agreements. You take what you want and ignore the consequences. The Hive representative, a creature that looked like a walking nightmare with too many arms and eyes, chittered loudly. Its translator device turned the sounds into words. Human chaos disrupts the natural order. Your unpredictable behavior threatens the stability we have maintained for millennia. Jake noticed that aliens throughout the chamber were nodding in agreement. Species that had never worked together before were now united against humanity. It was exactly what Earth's intelligence reports had predicted might happen. A new alien stood up. This one was different from the others. It had no solid body at all, just a cloud of gas held together by a metallic suit. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. I speak for the Vorthan Empire, the gas creature said. We have watched human expansion with growing concern. Your ships appear in systems without warning. Your colonies spring up overnight. Your traders ignore our customs and laws. The war leader nodded approvingly. The Vorthan speaks truth. Humans behave like a virus, spreading wherever they find weakness. Jake felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his expression neutral. These aliens were trying to make him angry, trying to get him to say something foolish. He would not give them that satisfaction. Chancellor Krex moved to the center of the speaker's area. His crystal body grew brighter as he prepared to deliver what Jake knew would be the formal demands. The allied powers of this council have agreed to give humanity one final chance to join galactic civilization peacefully, Chancellor Krex announced. These are our terms, and they are not negotiable. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a map of human space. Red markers indicated the disputed territories. First, Humans will immediately withdraw from all 47 star systems currently in dispute. Your colonies in these systems will be abandoned within one standard galactic year. Angry murmurs rippled through the human security team, but Captain Harper quickly silenced them with a look. Second, human expansion will be limited to your current 12 star systems. You will not establish any new colonies without permission from this council. The holographic map changed, showing humanity's space shrinking to a tiny fraction of what it currently was. Third, humanity will pay reparations for the territorial violations already committed. The amount will be equivalent to 50 years of your current economic output. Jake did quick math in his head. That amount would bankrupt Earth and all its colonies. It would reduce humanity to poverty for generations. Fourth, all human military and exploration activities will be subject to oversight by council representatives. You will not build, move, or operate any spacecraft without our approval. The final demand was the worst of all. It would essentially make humanity slaves to the alien council. Fifth and finally, humanity will reduce its military forces by 80%. The remaining ships will be used only for local defense under council supervision. The war leader stepped forward again. These terms are generous, considering your crimes. Most species that have defied the council have been destroyed completely. The Vorthan representative added, "This is humanity's final opportunity to survive as a species. Accept these terms or face the consequences." Jake's aide, Commander Pete Collins, appeared at the edge of the platform. He had a tablet in his hands and looked worried. Jake could see urgent messages flashing on the screen. "Permission to approach?" Pete asked quietly. Chancellor Krex waved a crystal arm dismissively. "Your human may approach. Let him see the data we have prepared." Pete walked quickly to Jake's chair and handed him the tablet. The information on it made Jake's blood run cold. Intelligence reports showed alien fleets gathering throughout the galaxy. The numbers were staggering. The Corvin Federation alone had mobilized over 3,000 warships. The Hive Collective had sent 2,000 more. The Zephyrian Collective had contributed 1,500 of their crystal ships. Even smaller species had sent what they could. The total alien force was approaching 10,000 ships. Humanity's entire space navy consisted of fewer than 200 ships scattered across their 12 systems. The odds were 50 to 1 against them. Pete leaned down and whispered in Jake's ear. "Sir, the Pentagon says our defensive systems can't handle this. They're recommending immediate acceptance of terms." Jake nodded and set the tablet aside. Around him, the alien representatives were already discussing how they would divide human territory among themselves. They spoke as if humanity had already surrendered. The Hive representative was arguing with a snake-like alien about mining rights to human worlds. The war leader was making plans for occupying Earth itself. They weren't even trying to hide their conversations from Jake. "Chancellor," Krex turned back to the human delegation, "we will give you exactly one standard galactic day to communicate with your government and return with your acceptance. This council will reconvene tomorrow at the same time." The crystal being's body flashed red, a sign of anger or impatience. "Do not mistake our generosity for weakness, Human Morrison. If you refuse these terms, we will take what we want by force. Your species will be scattered across the galaxy as slaves, or eliminated entirely." Jake stood up slowly and looked around the chamber one more time. Hundreds of alien faces stared back at him, most of them already celebrating their victory. They saw humanity as defeated, broken, ready to beg for mercy. He picked up his briefcase and walked toward the exit, his security team falling in behind him. The aliens watched him go, already making plans for tomorrow's ceremony where humanity would officially surrender. But as Jake walked through those massive doors, he was not thinking about surrender. He was thinking about the message he would send to Earth tonight, and the response that would come back. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity. Tomorrow they would learn how wrong they were. Jake Morrison walked back into the council chamber exactly 24 hours later. The massive room was even more crowded than before. Word had spread throughout the galaxy that humanity would finally submit to the council's demands. Representatives from dozens of species had come to witness what they thought would be a historic surrender. Media drones floated near the ceiling, recording everything for broadcast across hundreds of worlds. Alien reporters spoke excitedly into their devices, describing the moment when the upstart humans would finally learn their place in galactic civilization. Captain Harper walked beside Jake, but she seemed different today. Yesterday she had been nervous and tense. Today she was calm, almost relaxed. The entire human security team moved with quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. Jake took his seat in the center of the chamber and looked up at the alien, faces surrounding him. They were all smiling or showing whatever expression meant happiness in their species. Chancellor Krex's crystal body was glowing bright blue, which Jake had learned meant satisfaction. The war leader stood up first, his massive frame casting a shadow over the human delegation. "Human Morrison, have you brought your species' surrender?" Jake reached into his briefcase and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The chamber fell completely silent as he unfolded it slowly. Every alien in the room leaned forward, eager to hear humanity's defeat. Jake stood up and cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady, carrying clearly through the enormous chamber. "Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council," he began, "I want to thank you for your educational presentation yesterday. Your explanation of galactic politics was very interesting. Your generous offer of terms was also noted." The aliens nodded approvingly. This sounded like the beginning of a surrender speech. Chancellor Krex's crystal body grew even brighter. Jake continued, "After careful consideration and consultation with my government, I have been instructed to deliver the following response." He paused and looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many alien representatives as possible. When he spoke again, his voice was stronger, more commanding. "The United Earth Government hereby formally rejects all demands presented by this council." The chamber erupted in shocked gasps and angry chittering. Several aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in their native languages. But Jake wasn't finished. "Furthermore," he said, raising his voice above the noise, "we declare that any attempt to enforce these terms through military action will be considered an act of war against humanity and will be met with the full force of human retaliation." The chamber fell silent again, but this time it was the silence of complete shock. No species in recorded galactic history had ever responded to such overwhelming odds with a declaration of war. The war leader was the first to recover from his surprise. "Impossible, you cannot be serious. You are outnumbered 50-1. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "You have made several fundamental errors in your calculations, war leader. The first is assuming that because we are new to space, we are weak." He activated a device on his wrist and a holographic display appeared above the chamber. It showed footage that none of the aliens had ever seen before. Human ships moving through space at impossible speeds. Weapons tests that created explosions bright enough to be seen from orbit. Manufacturing facilities producing warships at a rate that defied their intelligence estimates. "You have mistaken our diplomatic patience for submission," Jake continued. "You have confused our small public presence with our actual capabilities. The footage changed to show human defensive installations that shouldn't exist, weapon platforms hidden in asteroid fields, sensor networks spread throughout disputed territories, military bases on worlds the aliens thought were empty. Chancellor Krex's crystal body had turned from blue to deep red, a sign of anger or fear. This is impossible. Our intelligence shows humans have only 12 systems and 200 ships. Jake's smile grew wider. Your intelligence shows what we wanted you to see. Did you really think we would expand into space without preparing for exactly this situation? The Hive representative stood up, its multiple arms waving frantically. Deception. Lies. Humans cannot hide entire fleets from our sensors. Can't we? Jake asked. The holographic display changed again, showing human ships decloaking right next to alien vessels. Ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared, close enough to touch the alien craft. The Vorthan Empire's representative, the gas creature in the metal suit, spoke in a voice filled with disbelief. How long have you been preparing for this? Since first contact 50 years ago, Jake replied honestly. Did you think we would meet advanced alien civilizations and not consider the possibility that some of you might be hostile? Jake walked to the edge of his platform, looking directly at the war leader. You wanted to know our capabilities? Here they are. The holographic display showed human ships engaging alien vessels in simulated combat. The results were devastating. Human weapons cut through alien shields like they didn't exist. Human ships moved with impossible agility, dodging attacks that should have been unavoidable. Our technology developed along different paths than yours, Jake explained. While you focused on size and traditional weapons, we focused on speed, stealth, and efficiency. While you built massive fleets for show, we built smaller forces designed to win. The war leader's red eyes were wide with shock. You dare threaten the combined might of the galaxy? I'm not threatening anyone, Jake replied calmly. I'm simply explaining the facts. You offered us terms. We declined. You threatened war. We accepted. Jake turned to address the entire chamber. You see, you've made one critical error in your understanding of humanity. You think we came to space seeking your approval. You think we want to join your galactic civilization and follow your rules. He paused, letting his words sink in. You're wrong. We didn't come to space to bow to established powers. We came to claim our place among the stars as equals. If you wish to deny us that place, then we welcome the attempt. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages, their translation devices creating a cacophony of angry voices. Some were demanding immediate military action. Others were calling for more intelligence gathering. A few were already talking about retreat. Chancellor Krex raised his crystal arms for silence. When the noise died down, he spoke in a voice that vibrated with rage. You speak of war as if it is a game, Human Morrison. Do you have any idea what you have just done? Jake nodded seriously. I have informed you that humanity will defend itself against any aggression. That's called diplomacy, Chancellor. Though I understand it might look different from your usual approach. The war leader slammed his massive fist against the railing, creating a sound like thunder. Your arrogance will be the death of your entire species. Possibly, Jake agreed, but it won't be the death of human dignity. We would rather die as free beings than live as your slaves. Jake picked up his briefcase and prepared to leave. The human delegation will be departing Nexus Station within the hour. If you wish to pursue military action, we will be waiting for you. As he walked toward the exit, Jake turned back one final time. Oh, and war leader, you might want to check your fleet positions. I think you'll find some interesting surprises waiting for you. The human delegation left the chamber behind them, walking through corridors filled with stunned aliens. Word of humanity's declaration was already spreading throughout the station. Some species were calling it suicide. Others were calling it the bravest thing they had ever witnessed. But as Jake boarded his ship and prepared for departure, he wasn't thinking about bravery or suicide. He was thinking about the message he had just sent to every species in the galaxy. Humanity would not be conquered. They would not be controlled. They would fight for their freedom, no matter the odds. The age of human diplomacy through strength was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news of humanity's declaration of war spread across the galaxy faster than anyone thought possible. Within hours, every major news network was broadcasting the story. Alien populations on hundreds of worlds watched in shock as they learned that the small human species had declared war on the entire Galactic Council. On the crystal world of Zephyria Prime, crowds gathered around public viewing screens. The crystal beings flickered between different colors as they discussed what they had witnessed. Most of them flashed red and orange, colors that meant anger and disbelief. The humans have lost their minds, one Zephyrian said to another. They cannot possibly win against our combined forces. Perhaps they have a secret weapon we don't know about, replied the other, its crystal body turning purple with worry. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. On the Corvin homeworld, military leaders were already planning their attack. The war leader himself stood before a massive tactical display, studying the positions of human colonies. Send word to all fleet commanders, he ordered his subordinates. We will crush this human rebellion quickly and completely. Let their destruction serve as a warning to any other species that might challenge us. But even as the alien leaders made their plans, strange reports were coming in from their military scouts. Ships that had been sent to observe human territories were reporting impossible readings. Human colonies that intelligence said were lightly defended appeared to be surrounded by defensive platforms. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Nancy White stood before the Global Assembly. Representatives from every nation on the planet had gathered to hear her address. The chamber was packed and billions more were watching on screens around the world. My fellow humans, President White began, her voice carrying clearly through the assembled crowd. Today marks a turning point in our species' history. We have been challenged by forces that seek to make us slaves. We have chosen to remain free. She paused, looking out at the faces of Earth's leaders. Some looked worried, others determined, but all of them were listening carefully. For 50 years since we first made contact with alien civilizations, we have been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come, but we knew it might. Today our preparations will be put to the test. President White activated a holographic display that showed the solar system, but instead of the familiar planets and space stations, the display revealed something much more complex. Hidden installations orbited every planet. Weapon platforms floated in the asteroid belt. Massive shipyards operated in the shadows of Jupiter's moons. What you are seeing is the truth of human space, President White continued. While we maintained our 12 public colonies, we have been secretly building a defense network throughout our territory and beyond. The display changed to show human space from a different perspective. Lines of communication stretched between star systems. Supply routes connected hidden bases. Sensor networks monitored everything that moved in nearby space. Operation Starfall has been in development since our first diplomatic contact with alien species. We studied their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. We prepared for the day when diplomacy would fail and we would have to defend ourselves. General Rick Martinez, the head of Earth's defense forces, stepped up to the podium. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes that had seen many battles. The aliens think they know our capabilities, General Martinez said. They have counted our public ships and dismissed us as weak. They are about to learn the difference between what we show and what we can do. He gestured to the holographic display, which now showed human ships unlike anything the public had seen before. These vessels were sleek and fast, built for war rather than exploration. Our ships are faster than theirs. Our weapons are more powerful. Our defensive systems are more advanced. But most importantly, we fight for our freedom while they fight to maintain their control over others. Back on Nexus Station, the alien representatives were meeting in emergency session. The chamber that had been so confident just hours before was now filled with worried voices and nervous energy. Chancellor Krex's crystal body was flickering between different colors as he tried to process the intelligence reports coming in from across the galaxy. How is this possible? He asked. No one in particular. Our sensors show human ships appearing in systems where no ships should exist. The Hive representative was pacing back and forth, its multiple legs clicking against the floor. The humans have been deceiving us for decades. Their true fleet size is unknown. Their technology is more advanced than we calculated. The war leader slammed his fist on the table. It doesn't matter, we still outnumber them 10-1. Numbers will win the day. But even as he spoke, more reports were arriving. Human ships had been detected near the Corvin homeworld. Zephyrian patrols had found human sensor platforms in systems they thought were empty. The Vorthon Empire reported that human vessels had somehow appeared inside their most secure military zones. The Vorthon representative, the gas creature in the metal suit, spoke in a voice filled with concern. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans may be more dangerous than we thought. Coward, the war leader roared. We cannot show weakness now. If we back down, every species in the galaxy will think they can challenge us. On the Phi Su, human colony world of New Boston, colonists were watching the news with mixed emotions. They knew they were likely to be the first target of any alien attack, but instead of panic, there was a strange sense of calm. Captain Lisa Harper, who had returned from Nexus Station, was now overseeing the colony's defenses. She stood in the command center, watching as defensive systems came online all around the star system. "Ma'am," one of her officers called out, "we're detecting a large alien fleet approaching the outer edge of the system." Captain Harper nodded, calmly. "How many ships?" "Intelligence estimates around 500 vessels, ma'am. Mixed fleet composition. Looks like they're planning to make an example of us." "And our defensive status?" "All systems are green, ma'am. Hidden platforms are ready. The fleet is in position. We're ready for them." Captain Harper looked at the tactical display showing the approaching alien ships. They were moving in a standard formation, confident and unafraid. They expected to find a lightly defended farming world with maybe a few patrol ships. Instead, they were about to encounter the most advanced defensive system humanity had ever built. Every lesson learned from 50 years of studying alien technology had been put into defending human space. "Signal. All units," Captain Harper ordered. "Prepare for combat. Show them what humans can do when we fight for our homes." The alien fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were flying into a trap that had been years in the making. Hidden sensors tracked their every movement, weapon systems locked onto their ships, human vessels prepared to decloak and join the battle. The first test of human military might was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humanity had been a terrible mistake. The age of human expansion was about to be written in the wreckage of alien ships that had come to conquer what they thought was an easy target. The battle for New Boston would be the first of many, and its outcome would shock the galaxy. The alien fleet approached New Boston with the confidence of predators hunting helpless prey. Admiral Corax of the Zephyrian Navy led the combined force of 500 ships. His crystal body glowed bright blue with satisfaction as he studied the tactical display. "Begin scanning the planet," he ordered his officers. "I want to know exactly what defenses these humans have before we destroy them." The scanning results came back quickly, and they matched exactly what alien intelligence had predicted. A small, farming world with basic shields and maybe 20 patrol ships in orbit. It would be an easy victory. "Signal the fleet," Admiral Corax commanded. "Begin attack formation. We will make quick work of this human colony and move on to the next target." But, as the alien ships moved into attack position, something unexpected happened. The space around them suddenly filled with light as dozens of hidden platforms powered up. What had looked like empty space moments before was now revealed to be filled with defensive installations. "Admiral," his sensor officer called out in panic. "We're detecting massive energy signatures all around us. There are weapon platforms everywhere." Before Admiral Corax could respond, the human ships decloaked. They appeared from nowhere, sleek and fast, moving with impossible speed and precision. The aliens had expected to face 20 patrol ships. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by over 100 advanced warships. Captain Harper's voice came through on the communication channel, speaking in perfect Zephyrian. "Alien fleet, you have entered human space without permission. Withdraw, immediately or face the consequences." Admiral Corax's crystal body flashed red with anger. "Impossible! Our intelligence said you had no significant defenses." "Your intelligence was wrong," Captain Harper replied calmly. "You have 10 seconds to begin your withdrawal." "Attack!" Admiral Corax screamed. "Destroy them all!" The alien fleet opened fire, with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human positions. It was the largest coordinated attack in galactic history, enough firepower to destroy an entire planet. But the human defensive systems were ready. Advanced shields absorbed the energy attacks, point defense systems shot down the missiles. Not a single human ship or platform was destroyed in the massive alien barrage. Then the humans returned fire. Human weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Instead of the large, slow energy beams they were used to, human weapons fired rapid pulses that moved at incredible speed. The alien shields designed to stop traditional weapons were useless against the new technology. Within minutes, a dozen alien ships were destroyed. Within an hour, half the alien fleet was either destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships tried to retreat, but human vessels were faster and caught them before they could escape. Admiral Corax watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by forces he didn't understand. His own flagship was hit multiple times, its crystal hull cracking under the impact of human weapons. "Surrender!" Captain Harper's voice came through the communication system again. "Surrender now and your remaining crews will be spared." Admiral Corax looked at his tactical display. Of his original 500 ships, fewer than 50 were still capable of fighting. The humans had destroyed his fleet with minimal losses. To themselves, "I surrender," he said quietly, his crystal body turning gray with defeat. News of the battle reached the Galactic Council within hours. Similar reports were coming in from across human space. Every alien fleet that had attacked human colonies had met the same fate. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were winning decisively. On the Corvin homeworld, the war leader stared at battle reports in disbelief. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide. "Over 2,000, war leader, and we haven't destroyed a single human colony." The war leader's red eyes burned with rage and fear. "Send word to all remaining fleets. Full retreat. We need to regroup and reassess." But even as the alien fleets tried to retreat, they found human ships waiting for them. Admiral Kate Barnes led a human task force that intercepted the largest Corvin fleet near their home system. The battle was swift and one-sided. Human ships moved through space like dancers, dodging alien weapons while delivering devastating attacks. Their shields seemed impossible to penetrate, while their weapons cut through alien defenses like paper. Admiral Barnes opened a communication channel to the Corvin war leader himself. "This is Admiral Barnes of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleets are defeated. Your colonies are defenseless. Surrender now, or we will be forced to take more aggressive action." The war leader's massive form appeared on the communication screen. "What do you want, human?" "Peace," Admiral Barnes replied simply. "We want you to leave us alone. Stop trying to control us, and we'll stop destroying your fleets." Within days, alien ambassadors were arriving at Earth. But they weren't coming to deliver ultimatums. They were coming to beg for peace treaties. The species that had once demanded humanity's surrender were now desperate to avoid further military losses. Jake Morrison found himself in a very different position than he had been just a week before. Instead of sitting alone in the Galactic Council chamber facing threats, he was now in the presidential palace on Earth, meeting with alien representatives who wanted to make deals. Chancellor Krex was the first to arrive. His crystal body was dim and gray, colors that meant humility and defeat. "Ambassador Morrison," he said quietly, "the Zephyrian Collective wishes to discuss terms for a peace agreement." "I'm listening," Jake replied, leaning back in his chair. "We propose immediate recognition of all human territorial claims. We will withdraw from all disputed systems and establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth." The Hive representative arrived next, followed by the Vorthon Empire's ambassador. Each species offered similar terms: recognition of human sovereignty, withdrawal from disputed territories, and trade agreements that favored human interests. President White joined the meetings on the third day. She sat across from the assembled alien ambassadors with quiet confidence. "2. United Earth government appreciates your desire for peace," she said. "But we want to make something very clear. Humanity will never again accept limitations on our expansion or development. We will go where we choose, when we choose." The aliens nodded quickly. They had learned the hard way that humans were not the weak species they had thought. However, President White continued, "We have no desire to conquer your worlds or control your peoples. We simply want the same respect and freedom that you have always taken for granted." Within a month, new treaties were signed. Human space was officially recognized as sovereign territory. Trade agreements were established that treated humanity as an equal partner rather than a junior member of galactic civilization. Jake Morrison stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber, but this time he wasn't alone on the central platform. Earth now had a permanent seat on the council, with full voting rights and equal status with the other major powers. The chamber that had once threatened humanity's existence was now the place where Ambassador Morrison helped make decisions that affected the entire galaxy. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. As Jake looked around at the alien faces that had once promised to destroy his species, he smiled. They had learned an important lesson about humanity. When pushed to the edge, humans didn't break. They pushed back harder than anyone expected. The galaxy was a bigger place now, with room for one more major power among the stars.